may have like crossed paths in the hallways. Yeah, amazing.
All right. Hello, everybody. If you can find a seat, find a seat. We have each of our people on the edges still, so please don't be shy. Come on right up to the front of the open seat. Welcome. My name is Jacko. I'm the managing director here at Urban. It is my great honor to welcome you to this year's Forefront Capstone, which is always one of the best nights of the year forum. Urban Design Forum connects and inspires design build for a better city. We're a membership organization of over 1,000 members who work together to build a healthier, fairer, and more beautiful city for neighbors. I want to thank all of our members who are here tonight, and all our board members. It's through your partnership and through your membership dues that we can do this critical work. And I'm especially grateful to tonight's lead event sponsor, Eastman, and additional sponsors, the nonprofit development, Marvel. We truly would not be here tonight without your support. We created the Forefront Fellowship 9 years ago because we wanted to support courageous new leaders to take on urgent challenges facing the city. Through Forefront, we coach rising leaders on how to work within institutions to create change and how to pressure them from the outside. We convene a cohort that reflects many lived experiences and different kinds of technical expertise to build real relationships, ask hard questions, and imagine a better future for our city together. And we're here tonight to celebrate what becomes possible when you bring together a diverse group of leaders who work collaboratively for the public good. But I think it's also important to acknowledge that this kind of deeply democratic work is under attack. And for that reason, we are especially delighted that you're here with us tonight, and we are especially proud of this year's brilliant fellows who have spent the past 9 months learning, dreaming, debating, and putting to the test big ideas about how New York City can become a place where older adults can thrive. And now I need your help. So, also fellows, raise your hands up high. I think probably you're most in the back of the room. And everyone else, can we please give them the loudest round of applause? That's good. That's very good. That's very good. Impressive. That's actually a Forefront tradition. That raucous round of applause. And you all are doing great already, but I also think maybe you can do better. So I hear we also have some very important folks here today who have collaborated with the fellows on their research and projects throughout the year. If that's you, could you please raise your hand? And let's get it even louder. Very good. Thank you for the assist, Miguel. Okay. Finally, I want to know who here is at your first Urban Design Forum event tonight. Raise your hands high and let's get one last round of applause. Oh, so good. Welcome. Fantastic. Okay, thank you. So I hope tonight you get the chance to meet someone new who cares about the same things you do. And as you have all helped me out with that fantastic applause, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to turn to someone you don't know, you've never met, and please introduce yourself.
Is it you're doing a master's program? I
Alright.
do master's.
That's great. You can't. So tonight, our gathering friends have designed a city for older adults. New York's older adults are invaluable members of the community. Housing that isn't designed for aging, education options, fragmented services make it challenging for older New Yorkers to age in place and participate actively in city life. We were so grateful to partner with the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development this year, and I want to especially thank Ariel Goldberg, Sarah Leitson, and Dan Guerra, who have been fantastic collaborators. In the fall, the Forefront Fellows worked with this team to explore how the city can help more adults age in place, and you'll hear more about that in a moment. And then in the winter and spring, fellows developed independent projects that show how intergenerational connections can shape a better city for all. They're going to present their ideas tonight, and they're going to want your feedback. So please stick around after the presentations to share your drinks, visit the stations of the map. Now, before we dive into the presentations, I'm Jennifer Romeo, who's an architect and senior associate at Perkins Eastman and one of this year's Forefront Fellows. Welcome. Thanks, Catherine. Good evening, everyone. It's so incredible to be in this place, this time here, since September, these folks have been working together. We've all been working together. We're so pleased to have you tonight. I'm wearing two hats today. I am as part of this group, but I'm also part of an architecture firm here in New York City and longtime supporter of urban design. I don't know if you know this, Catherine, but Perkins Eastman's first project was actually a senior living community. So in this moment, we were celebrating the full circle moment that this is. To see what the opportunities are to extend the old we have to uplift and dignify their experience in New York City. From that first experience, the projects have changed over to affordable housing for seniors that is modern and passive house certified, ensuring both the financial well-being and health of older adults. And drawing on expertise across our practice areas, we housing or schools with affordable housing. From the very beginning, our work is always centered on helping voices and their unique needs and aspirations. So in many ways, as I mentioned, it's a full circle to see what's possible in the future from these ideas here tonight. We also celebrate the Urban Design Forum for being a partner with us in purpose and possibility in the city, not only just with us, but with each of us here in this room. There are few organizations, if any, on the challenges the city faces from affordable housing and sustainability to the creation and maintenance of our public realm. So we are happy and thrilled to be supporters. And we, Perkins Eastman, are not the only partners and supporters. Thank you so much to the sponsors who are here in this room and those who are not here to support this effort. There are many organizations who represent the funding National Endowment for the Arts was pulled at the last minute. These partners stepped up above and beyond what they could possibly do to fill that void that was left by that funding. And the beauty of this experience, this fellowship, as you'll see in this room among us, we are from different disciplines. And change only happens in conversation with each other. So you met one person, I invite you to meet 4 more people tonight from different disciplines. The fellows you'll see here tonight all represent different things, and through our ideas, exchange of ideas, that we become a stronger, better, purposeful opportunity for us. So today we invite you to meet somebody new, and also we wish to walk out here with many partners for purpose and possibilities, for older adults and for our city. Hi everyone, packed house. I'm Sarah Leitson, Assistant Commissioner in the Division of Special Needs Housing at HPD. We oversee the senior and supportive housing home programs, other mix match, different things. I'm very pleased to be joined by my colleagues, Ariel and Dan in our Office of Neighborhood Strategies.
We spent the entire last fall working with a global group of us. Actually, the work started even earlier. Here in May about what this could be, and here we are a whole year later, seeing the fruits of those ideas. It's really exciting. And I want to start with a couple thank yous. We couldn't have done this without the team. We couldn't have done it without the fellows. You all are incredible. And put your hearts and souls into this work to make the city a place where everyone can engage with dignity and can age with peace. And I also want to thank all the partners. I know many of you are my team at HPD, and just thank you for opening your doors and giving everyone tours. We really appreciate it. Your research and recommendations really help spark new ideas. They will help push us forward. They will give us a new and exciting base for which to generate new policy ideas. Change can be slow, and it can be especially slow in lumbering bureaucracy. So keep pushing forward, even if the many 36, it was more recommendations that were put forth in the last version I saw of the report, don't all come to fruition tomorrow. Keep building up relationships that you have made here, the sites that you have visited, the ideas that have been generated. I am so excited to see what you all do with this. I'm excited to see what we do with this, what future generations do with this. We serve older adults in all aspects of the not just focused affordable rental apartments program. And these recommendations will hopefully make their way to do our work at HPD. So thank you again for having me here today. It's been an incredible experience to work alongside each of you. And please stay engaged, keep in touch, for a city that we can all call home. Age. So. Our next.
All right, how's everyone feeling? Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful Thursday evening. I am Kavya and this is Adrian, and over the past 9 months, I've was asking one big question. What would it take for older New Yorkers to not just survive, but to truly thrive within and most importantly, right now, one in 5 New Yorkers is over the age of 65. That's 1.2 million people, and it's the fastest growing age group in New York City.
Yet, many older adults are facing a unique and urgent housing crisis, with very few options for safe and affordable housing. Through our work, we've learned that many older adults want to live here, and we've seen firsthand how the city is full of people who drop our cut. That includes all of you. Everyone in this room has something to offer that could have New York City an incredible place to grow older. We have all work to do, but the good news is we're not starting from scratch. The bar for what aging in the city can be.
We are 28 fellows working across architecture, public policy, art, and organizing, each bringing a different lens to the question of what makes us beautiful as we age. And we're excited to share that our favorite report is live on the Urban Forum website. We teamed up with NYC HPD to city stories, case studies, and concrete recommendations. And the goal is to help more older New Yorkers stay in their communities long term.
We took our investigation through 4 different scales, starting with the unit, then the building, then the neighborhood, and finally the city. To run our work in real experience, we engaged with New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. We spoke with over 40 stakeholders and experts in the field, from housing developers, agency leaders, to social workers and community organizers.
We also visited 15 senior housing forums, learning firsthand what's working and most importantly, we listened. We facilitated 5 interactive workshops and met with over 90 older adults who generously shared their challenges, their hopes, and their ideas, shaping every recommendation. And one of the biggest things that we learned is this: older adults in New York City are not a monolith. They span at least three generations and their physical, social, and housing needs vary widely and continue to change as they age. They also live in many different housing types. About a third live alone, a third live with partner or spouse, and another third live with children or others. So if older adults are this diverse, their housing options should be flexible and rooted in choice. And that is the foundation of aging in place.
People want to live in a dynamic community. One key recommendation, explore innovative housing model that gives older adults more choice, flexibility, connection with their community. A few examples of what it could look like. Sunny Purchase is home to New York's first university-based retirement, where learning and aging happen side by side. The New York Foundation for Senior Citizens run a home sharing program to reduce living costs and combat isolation. A nonprofit called Home that reimagined housing for seniors by offering intergenerational housing model in Chicago.
All right, story time. Mr. Herrera is 78 and has lived in the Bronx for over 40 years. And last summer, her daughter tried to apply for a city program to make the apartment more comfortable. Replace the windows, add insulation, maybe even heat pump. But it was full of paperwork and really hard to get assistance, so nothing happened. There are several city programs that exist, but if we want these solutions to work, we have to make them actually affordable. And so in our report, we came up with a few recommendations. The first is to run a navigator program that helps older adults and caregivers apply for support in person, by phone, and in multiple languages. The second is to show small property owners why in the house of pilot upgrades. And the third is to fund people who actually make the upgrades work, building managers to supports.
For many older adults in New York City, getting around is dangerous. Although they make up only 18% of the accounts for half of all the pedestrian fatalities. Inaccessible neighborhoods do not only limit independence and dignity. We design cities for speed and efficiency, but what if we design them for confidence, and care? For an older to age in place successfully to support accessible street aren't just a mobility issue. They're a public health strategy that supports stress reduction and independence. There are many ways of improving usage. Frequent public sitting that provide shade, shelter, and night older adults can raise charge. Memory supportive wayfinding. Repeated pattern, familiar landmarks. Sensory friendly spaces, quiet art murals, and area for reflection, memory and reducing time.
All right, real talk. This isn't just about older adults, it's about all of us now and in the future. We need everyone, architects, artists, bankers, city staff, you in the back, to help make the city one that supports us at every age. We need homes that adapt, streets that are safe and navigable, spaces that foster connection, and buildings designed to stand up to a changing climate. And so, how can you contribute? Give us feedback, please read the report, tell us what works, what's missing, and what you want to see in there. Invite us to the room. We'd love to share this work with your office agency or community group. And volunteer. There's a role for you, whether it's for an hour or the whole summer. We'd love to collaborate. And go to your community board meetings and share this report. Advocate for older neighbors and start the conversation.
And now you'll hear about our court's visionary project that continue to build on this idea of using actionable and aspirational way to do this work. With that, I would like to invite my peer, Jen, Lauren, and Katie, to kick us off with a presentation titled Giving Voice to the Public.
Hello again. Our team is to give voice to the forgotten middle with a focus on aging in place in Queens neighborhood. We are a team of built environment specialists, practitioners, and civil servants focused on housing and health.
We recognize as part of phase one, which Adrian and Claudia referenced, as well as in our respective personal and professional experiences, that there's a group consistently challenged by the financial burden of aging. And as we talk about this, I want to ask you, does this resonate with you? You know, older adults that are in this situation. Will you be an older adult in this situation? Well, the forgotten middle represents middle income older based on their income, either don't qualify for Medicaid benefits and therefore can't seek long-term care, but they also don't have the financial resources to support the extremely high income necessary to pay out of pocket for certain housing and care supports in ages. As a group, these middle income seniors are often the communities, hence they are the forgotten middle. Identifying this yet? And from here lies our mission, to identify key areas of concern, unmet needs, and solutions to address older forgotten middle that prevent them from successfully living and engaging in their community as they age in place. For our efforts, we focus on a few factors. There are many factors that affect aging in place, but we focus on a more specific window. The first is really looking at the community and accessibility and mobility in the home, accessibility and mobility in the neighborhood, and resources in the community. There are recent community surveys that explore the assessments over New York City, but they are quite broad, and generalizations cannot be made across all of New York City. While some can be, there are other factors that are local at the neighborhood scale that significantly impact aging in place. To provide a deeper dive of specific needs and opportunities, we believe it's critical to study specific neighborhoods and engage older adults from that community directly. And identify local actionable steps and opportunities to impact and advocacy. Are there any Queens folks in the house? I think some Queens folks. Woo! All right. Meet Cute Queens, Community District 2, where we pursue this deeper dive. Near of Long Island, Sunnyside, there's a significant presence of older adults and it's incredibly diverse, not only with the people, but the housing and land use. You see all those colors? That's very diverse land use. With the connections our team has the community, specifically, as well as recent and proposed development, there are tremendous opportunities to improve the experiences of the forgotten middle. Our approach was to engage with community organizations who have a true presence and understand the needs of the community first. They also hear firsthand from older adults, like what works, what doesn't work, where are the opportunities. So we did that through questionnaires and firsthand workshops with older adults, and we intend to share the results, and you can see some of the results today, to share them with local community leaders, older organizers, and also older adults. Collectively, this is a toolkit that we use at CB2, Community District 2, but it's meant to be and intended to be used across all communities across New York City. Of those who participated, most have lived for 20 plus years. We talk about aging in place, this is what it looks like. And more than half of the participants were part of the forgotten. Thanks, Jen. So I'm going to talk through a couple of our findings. Just to build a little bit on what Jen shared, we were able to identify some gaps and using the survey, and then using the workshop, we were able to prioritize those needs and get some additional insights. So we looked at a number of topics. If you had a chance to look at our table, you saw a bunch of them there. I only have time to go through 3 key findings, but you'll get a link at the end of this and a QR code where you can find a little bit more data. But also feel free to connect with any one of us to learn a little bit more. So I'll share findings about our 3 key areas: home, community, and services. An interesting finding about the home was only 18% had access to emergency call systems or medical alert devices, but in the workshops, it was identified as a high need. This is something that surprised us, and also probably surprised a number of you, because only 2 people
selected that as their priority to get back there. For the community, this is one that particularly benefited from our neighborhood focus. We found that street lighting and uneven sidewalks were a priority, a huge challenge, specifically, particularly along Queens Boulevard. And then for services, we found only less than a third of survey respondents had been able to modify their own homes in some way. This was a really high need identified in the workshops. So what does this mean? How are we going to use this information? As Jen shared, the cornerstone was translating older adults' voices, what they shared with us, into real action. And we plan to do that in 3 ways. The first, education. That's exploring whether there are existing resources and programs, if there's sufficient education, for example, about what a landlord's right with regards to home modifications and repairs. That will be working with the department throughout this project to see if there are additional programs, capacity, and interest in building new programs to, for example, provide free or low-cost medical devices. And third is advocacy. Exploring city agencies, elected officials, things like roof lighting and sidewalks on Queens Boulevard. So we are incredibly our community partners, especially to the survey participated in the workshops. And we don't want to stop with just community. We want this to be replicated across the state. So this information will be published. As I promised earlier, you can see more. You can also connect with us. Our email is there. You also have to sign up at the table back. If you want more details, if you want to explore whether it makes sense to do something like this, we are more than happy to partner with anyone so that we can all successfully age in our community. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. Yeah. We have aging in focus and understanding per essential that helps designers, developers, policymakers, and programs access rich quality data to better understand the lived experience and expression needs of all the adults. I'm here with Charlie, Lisa, Sandy, Meg, and Ashmi. We're excited to walk you through our journey and share what we learned from the people that inspired our project. Early on, we noticed that all the adults their voice overlooked, their communities connected, and most importantly, the quantitative data that captures this reality is rarely acted on. This has become our call to action.
So we really recognize survey tools that gather big data, large scale quantitative input. This tool is really meant to be a creative, rich qualitative stories and real-life experiences that numbers alone can't capture. It really is to reveal the why, help you all understand and design for this isn't meant to be a replacement. We understand those quantitative surveys. It's really an essential add-on to more human-centered. So we believe that older they represent invaluable holders of diverse knowledge that can be lost if not shared. They are a reflection of all of our future selves and should be visible, valued, and centered in the reshaping the spaces in which they live. This older adult-centered co-creation, ethical, resilient, and joyful in New York City, and we really want stakeholders to see the value of time, slowing down and listening to people and their experiences and voices.
Thank you, Charlie. So to reiterate, we're building a participatory design tool to gather data on some of the most pressing needs, concerns, and joys of older adults. This collaborative approach consists of flexible workshops, an art exhibition where older adults are the artists, a public platform to collect, co-curate, and showcase older adults' stories and their experiences. The tool comes in 4 different versions, tailored to enable designers, developers, public agencies, policymakers, program providers, and building managers to better support our aging society.
Thank you. The process for using this tool includes a series of about 3 workshops, self-led activities, an exhibition, and a website to publish the data and personalize their story. Over 3 months, we developed and piloted collaborating with participants for 3 weeks. We reflected on their lived environments and shared their experiences building on Charlie and the Rose relationship in the community. These are some of our amazing participants. I'm so great to work with this project. They include Beth, Jane, Amy, and Rayla, some of whom are in the audience here today. In our first workshop, we were introduced to the process, received prompts to document their week. The goal was to empower them to cultivate their lives and environments, capturing everyday spaces, routines, and points that flesh out data in under 25
Thank you. So we gave participants handouts with prompts like something you do every day that's well, Marie Kondo. Places maybe where you feel comfortable, inviting them to reflect on their routines and environments and to consider what would be more inclusive, accessible, and emotionally resonant environments. We got feedback on the prompts, the good, the bad, and the honest. And so for the facilitators, anyone out there looking to facilitate any of these workshops, building trust and how to thick skin. Pretty cool. In workshop 2, we gathered participants to reflect on their photos and recorded audio stories like why this corner matters to me. This helps deepen the meaning behind each image, memories and experiences to place, and enrich our understanding. In the pilot, we combined reflection and the curation of activities into one workshop. Got feedback on that. But we did realize that after the co-curation, which the participants did help to organize the gallery exhibit, that it really did need its own dedicated time. So that's reflected in our material in the back. So this was including using pre-designed layouts. So we measured the space and good architects do. Figured out what could actually be mounted there, gave some layouts, and co-curated top 5 images from each participant would make it onto the wall. So on this slide, you can see that photos were collected from only 5 participants. So you can imagine this at scale, pretty impressive. We had participants share whether they took the photos to emphasize positive or negative of their experiences. We saw broader themes emerge across the photos like autonomy, mobility, community, and routines. The final event was the exhibition called Duro, multi-purpose community space, and it allowed us to uplift the participants' voices and build community with people even making new friends. I know we got a lot of emails and phone numbers.
But the things don't stop there. We come up with a positive or negative tag for each photo. We are proposing to use the image and text recognition technology to recognize objects and environments, works in the photos, audible and written stories, categorized by prompt, scale, topics of interest, and keywords. Of course, after being filtered by humans to protect the privacy of participants. We envision the public accessing stories data to a website in 4 sections. Number 1, explore, where participants and stakeholders can navigate and analyze the data. 2, participate, where older adults can self-direct themselves through the exercise and request disposal of cameras. Number 3, facilitate, for organizers to download the materials and implement the tool. And number 4, building community, an archive with evidence of projects that actually have used this data.
So what have we learned so far? First, storytelling is empowering. Early on, participants doubted their potential impact in the process, but by the end, they saw that their stories can help create a better city. Second, trusted partners. We were really lucky to work with Jerome and his older adult community. And lastly, allocating time. As Meg mentioned, we underestimated how much people had to say, and going forward, we will add at least one other workshop. As next steps, we'll engage with stakeholders, including funders, to develop the technology to categorize and share useful data. Ultimately, we hope to scale aging in focus both within and beyond New York City. And we look forward to working with stakeholders like you. Please stop by our table in the back and share your thoughts, or get in touch with us at a later date. Thank you so much.
How we doing?
Greetings, everyone. We are Team Stewart, the Story Weavers. I am Danielle. We can get the introduction started. I'm Danielle.
I'm Allison.
And this is Kristen, Fatima, Amar, and Wayne. We entered this work with a shared goal: to build relationships, uplift older adults, and translate our funding into direct impact.
So how did we get here? Me, Miss Juliet Miami Davis. Chris, raise your hand. Chris noticed a lush garden growing in her neighborhood and wanted to learn the story. That story changed how we saw possibility and guided who we needed to censor.
Inspired by Miss Miami, we asked, where else are older adults quietly transforming the city? In gardens, on streets, and in community centers. Many of New York City's green spaces are stewarded by older adults rooted in place. We wanted to follow that trail.
That meant letting relationships guide the work, following conversations where they led, being open to the unexpected, and building something bigger, building something with people and not for them.
We got there visiting gardens, listening to stewards, and asking them what support really looked like. In East New York, the neighborhood with the most community gardens in all of New York City. One conversation naturally led to the next.
We met beautiful people and beautiful spaces. Mr. Wallace at Jerome Street Garden and Mr. James at Green Gems.
Mr. James McCray, who is present with us this evening, transformed a dumping ground into a green oasis. Thanks to 30 plus years of care. He shares his knowledge generously, gardening, mentoring, and building community. Anyway, while chatting with Mr. James, he shared that his friend Rochelle, the superintendent at the Redwood Senior Living Center, had been trying to get a garden off the ground at the neighboring Prince Joshua of Jill Community Center, also known as PJ.
This is a crazy story. So Mr. Rochelle actually spotted, so he was maintaining the roof of the senior living facility, and he spotted some space, some garden space while doing his work, and he didn't wait for permission, right? He took the initiative to revive this garden as the Ujima Community Garden at PJ.
Ujima means collective work and responsibility. And
Mr. Rochelle, who's also here with us this evening, embodies that. A long-term community organizer and founder of PJAC's annual Kwanzaa celebration, new to gardening, but full of vision and care. So naturally, together, we cleared and restored the space. We tapped into our networks to deliver tools, mulch, seeds. We hosted 2 work sessions with the seniors who were here to prepare the beds. Quite frankly, work they couldn't do physically on their own. And then some of our favorite parts, we held a group bonding session in the garden at Great Gems right before a torrential downpour and had a little bit of party. But what we were growing, of course, wasn't just food, it was community. Gardens are powerful third spaces, but they aren't the only ones. Third spaces support mental health, exercise, and social connection. They're important for everybody, but especially elders who are growing in place here in New York City. Elders aren't just preserving the past, they're actively planting futures. And many of them are doing it without institutional support, mentoring, caretaking, connecting. They're leaders, and we need to see them as such. We also learned that funding follows formality. Many gardens fall through the cracks because they're outside of existing systems such as green code. But that doesn't mean that they're not essential. We need new ways to recognize and support them. So, what if funders, agencies, institutions made space for the informal, the messy, community-led? What if the way we fund match the way people already show up? That's how human-centered change. So here's what we're asking. City agencies, funders, CBOs, support the stewards who are already doing the work. Don't wait for perfect proposals. Show up where the need is and where the wisdom is already living. Older adults their flowers. This work is rooted in listening, asking for what you need, and showing up, rolling up your sleeves, and returning again. It's about consistency, humility, and relationships. That's where transformation begins. Because this isn't their work, it's ours.
We all come together and grow, not to competition, grow in relationships.
Mr. Rochelle, how's it going?
I love it, I love it.
There are over 1.2 neighborhoods in New York City. And where the French ends, you'll find more community gardens and urban farms than any other part of the city. And you'll realize that there's more food and flowers growing here. Some have been gardening for decades. So others just started. But all of them are showing us something essential that we never stop learning. You know, after 65.
What does it mean for me to be seen and heard at this stage of my life? I want to be seen. I want to be heard. Yes. I want to live my life to the fullest. I say I'm 75, but within me, I don't feel as if I'm 75. I feel as if I'm 32 or 35. I try to live it. Yes, I really want to enjoy life.
These gardens, ageism of garden, it's a gift. In a world that tries to undervalue older adults of gardens today, we have wisdom. We belong and we live. In order for older adults to share their problems, to show up. Here's the thing. Older adults
us can't do it alone. All of us need each other and help each other in our lives. So this is an invitation to show up. Help out. These elders don't just need volunteers. They need people who stay, who root themselves in relationships. So that place you forgot about around the block, that patch of green behind the church, or that voted space near your school, recognize this. What's roaming around the corner or with a train might just be a blueprint for how we all grow, thrive, and stay in this place we call home.
Send a quick shout out to Anwar, who raised her hand. Anwar is the creative vision behind that film, and she put it all together. She's also a professional storyteller, so if you're inspired to tell your story, please come find her at our table, and we can answer all the questions. Amber, wanted to shout you out, Amber.
Thank you to the last group for waking up. All right, we're not gonna do that again. All right, my name is Kavya. We're gonna introduce our project, Lifelong Capstone. So let's jump right in into this. January 2025, and our asking ourselves a question: what does an age-friendly New York City look like in 2016? I don't know if you know what's happening in January 5, but it's a little hard for us to answer this big question about the future, in particular believing in a really positive and optimistic future for aging. The question itself really big. How are we going to answer this question? Understand things. And these are some of the things that we said during that process. So to tackle this, we began to ask ourselves different questions. So here's one we want to take you through with us. Think back 10 years. The year is 2015. What are two ways that have changed since 2015? How was your life really different back then? Okay, sorry. Raise your hand. You live somewhere different. That's a lot of you. Let's try another one. Maybe a new policy or law has changed.
Yeah.
All right. Amazing. Lastly, how about the way you communicate?
Yeah.
All right. The point is, helped us realize that a lot has changed in the last decade, which means a lot can change in the decades to come.
Lifelong City is both a display and how we think about our future. This project explores how aging in New York City has evolved. It really is for anyone who's ever loved the city and wondered how we might grow older again. This is our team. We come from different backgrounds and disciplines, and throughout this process, we made space for the very many ways of knowing, loving, and belonging in the city. Aging in place is truly inseparable from the city's larger story, one defined by race, class, crises, and care. And so we placed 6 decades of the city's history, highlighting key cultural, political, and environmental issues. We also did a few things in tandem. We spent time with older adults, 25 of them, and in partnership with Sage, we conducted a workshop where we spent an afternoon collaging, writing, and listening. I'm going to shout out a few folks from Sage who are here tonight. Mono, Maria, Rafael, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. And through interviews with several New Yorkers from across the 5 boroughs, we heard stories of resiliency, creativity, and community. We also invited artists over 60 with us, one sketch at a time, and they reflected on how their bodies, homes, and neighborhoods have changed and what they still hope for. And inspired by what they learned, we wrote some stories, ones that offer futures full of joy, rest, protest, and kinship at every age.
Then we used the findings from this process to imagine what it could look like 35 years from now. We organized these possible futures into three provocative themes. One, in 2060, older adults are celebrated storytellers and co-creators of new life. Two, in 2060, climate change demands that we organize society with care and community at its center. And number three, in 2060, housing is no longer a commodity. Everyone has access to safe, affordable housing at every stage of life. So let's take a closer look at this first theme to walk through our methods. To start, we asked ourselves a different question. What does New York City look like when older adults are seen as the center of the show? When we looked at media from the last decade through the lens of this question, they told us this. Older adults are often seen as stuck in the past, no longer relevant to shape the future. But upon taking stock of this past, we discovered that older adults are at the center of amazing, unimaginable, out-of-reach changes that have happened over the course of their lives. They lived it and know that change is possible. An example of this is the sustained existence of Sage Care, founded in 1978, and whose motto is "Fear is to be invisible." They are a living testament to older adults that navigated a different world to the so-called unfit battles.
And one of the people we interviewed was Ashley Howe, a social worker up in the Bronx, who connects older adults, some confined to their homes, through poetry and dance, meeting them where they are and continuing to make space for them to see. At our SAGE workshop, participants wrote letters to New York City. One person wrote, "I hope you appreciate all the different cultures and know what your ancestors built." And another wrote, "I hope your sense of empathy continues to provide." And rooted in our process, in the spirit of fiction, older adults are at the center, as storytellers, co-creators, activists, artists, and makers. In one of the stories, Landslide, older adults lead protest movements during the 2033 eviction crisis, helping elect a new generation of socialist citizens. And in Guardian 2052, elders serve as community mediators in a transformed justice system. All of this, the stories, the timelines, the artwork, live in our online exhibit that we'll hope you visit right now, Lifelong Capstone.
So now that you've seen what our process looks like, let's revisit the question about the future. Picture yourself 10 years from now. The year is 2035. How will you build the future? Think about it. Perhaps you'll visit lifelong.city. But for real, we hope you will try some of the methods that we document on our website and include it in your practice, such as writing your own speculative stories about New York City built for you. And if nothing else, we hope you remember what has seemed impossible the last 35 years and continue to chart the path for the next. Aging affects us all, and building an age-friendly New York City begins right now. Start with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, fellows. Can we get one last round of applause? So we have one final special guest for tonight. It's our honor to be joined by Councilmember Crystal Hudson for concluding keynote remarks tonight. Councilmember Hudson represents New York City's District 35 in Brooklyn, and since her election in 2021, she's been busy working to make government more accessible for more people. She's the chair of the Committee on Aging, where she launched the Aging Place legislative package and then the Aging Place 2.0 legislative package, successfully passing several bills to make New York City a place where every older adult can age with dignity.
Thank you. Good evening. What a packed room. How's everybody feeling? I try not to stand behind the podium so you can actually see me. I'm really happy to be here. Congratulations to all the fellows. It's been amazing. Another round of applause. I think it's really special that so many of the folks you work with are here with you this evening. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about how I got into public service, which is really all about older adults. And then I took down a couple of notes from some of the presentations, just to like to share a couple of things. But I got into public service after caring for my mother with Alzheimer's disease. I spent 10 years working in sports, and like the very good lesbian I am, I started in the WNBA. And then my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. I was the only child of a single parent, and so I moved back in with my mother, and then another 10 years caring for her as her primary caregiver. It wasn't the way I thought I was going to spend those years of my life, but it was very challenging, but also it was a great joy that I was able to do that. And really what got me into public service was that it was incredibly difficult. It was difficult to navigate bureaucracy, to figure out what we might qualify for, to figure out what services, resources, programs might be available for her. And I wanted to make sure that government actually worked for more of us, and that it was more accessible to more people, and also that we started to actually think about older adults in a way that I think so many of us don't usually think about older adults. So I really do commend all of you in this room for centering and thinking about really authentically, how do we make New York City the best place for everybody to grow older? That's so much of the work that I do. So I've been advocating for older adults since I took care of my mother. That's what propelled me into public service. That's what landed me as the chair of the Aging Committee. I think the Speaker of the City Council has done a good job of assigning committee chairmanships or chair to folks with lived experiences in those particular areas. I've never been in a room, I'm in a room talking about older adults only. I'm usually the youngest person in the room. It warms my heart to see so many folks, because I always try to remind people that it's not, you're not planning for the adults of today or tomorrow, but we're planning for yourselves as well. And I don't know how many politicians do that, but they're pretty selfish. And so I always try to like make sure it's about them, you know, like we need more funding because you too will be an older adult one day. And if only the mayor actually would give us more funding. If you didn't know, the Department of Aging is less than 1/2 of 1% of the entire $100 billion budget for New York. That's not right. Shame. There you go. We should. The older population is growing. As I think you've heard. It's going to grow by 40% in New York City just by the year 2040. So in the next 15 years. And just to put that in perspective, statewide, the older adult population will grow by 25%. But in New York City, it will grow by 50%. And I think we should have a budget for older adults that matches the population. And that's something we can really get so many folks also made the city the amazing, great city that we all love. And I always make sure people, not everybody gets to grow older, right? It's a privilege. And if you're lucky, you can do so here in New York City, but not everybody gets to grow older here in New York City either. So I have a package of legislation called Asian Place. So if there's 1.0, now there's a 2.0 package. And it's all legislation trying to make a space for everybody to grow older. And so many of the themes that we touched on here are some of the things that I'm trying to solve for. It's really great to see that other people are thinking this way, taking ideas down from the presentation, taking it back to City Hall. But some of those ideas that I wanted to share tonight, one is around universal design. I don't have to say universal design is here, but usually I say it's like ADA. It's
To people who may be less familiar. But we passed a law that would require any new building going up that is getting subsidized by the city, so the city funding would be required on 10% of the unit universal design. And that is specifically so that we can all age in place, literally physically age in the places we are in. I'm working with HPD on something that's a little bit more complex and difficult to bring to fruition, but we're working on trying to, and this came up in one of the presentations as well, to move people in 3, 4, 5-story walk-ups, apartments, 50, 60 years, who can no longer walk up and down those stairs, moving them into newer buildings that are not possible in lower level apartments, perhaps in the same building, and for many reasons, you can imagine, including housing crisis and very little access to units. It's difficult to just let that happen, but we are working on it. And I wanted to just, I did write down things, so bear with me for a second. Creating and cultivating communities, role of local government, growing older together, centering and amplifying older adults, acknowledging that older adults are the future and not the past. Those are some of the things I wrote down. I think it's so important for all of us, no matter what line of work you're in, to think about older adults, to think about how we can make everything easier and more accessible. And one of the things I always say is when you actually legislate, plan, or design or program for the people who are most marginalized across any sector, segment, or demographic, or any place, and everybody benefits. And so when you think about even safer streets, accessible transit system, older adults who get benefit from that. It's pushing strollers, it's people who are in wheelchairs, canes, what have you. Everybody benefits. And one thing is of older adults, but it's a very good example that when I was first running for office in 2021, Black in New York City, I always said it's going to be inclusive. The very first bills that I passed into law was to address the Black maternal mortality crisis. Black women, it is a fact that Black women die at a far quicker rate for childbirth than anybody else, and it is going to hold for household income type of insurance that really just comes to implicit biases and racism. And so created a lot of mandate would make available to anybody given city information about what a doula is, where they can find a doula, and a program that might be able to pay for a free doula program so they have an added advocate. But that's not just for Black women giving birth in New York City. That's for all women giving birth in New York City. When you center the needs of the people with the greatest needs, then everybody benefits. And so I think we need to be doing more of that with regards to older adults, and actually centering older adults in so much of what we're thinking about, not just redesign and general accessibility, but technology, healthcare, every aspect. Just read a piece in the New York Times that was about this growing population of older adults who are now caring for their grandchildren because of the opioid crisis, and the parents who are not really available to raise their kids, and people having to not only parent for the second time, but also to do so perhaps unexpectedly, so whether they've not planned for it, whether financially or emotionally or otherwise. So it's thinking about older adults in every scenario, every facet, in every place of the globe. Really, how do we make life better for everybody that's aging wherever they can be? So thank you again for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. Congratulations to all of the fellows. This is really great. I learned a lot. So I'd like to ask, how many people here work in city government? Okay, that's a lot. So I hope that we can all take some of these lessons back to our workplaces and make sure that we're really thinking about older adults in a way that nobody has before. If we and all do that together, and then we can create this true for want to grow over it and can grow over it. Yeah.
So much, Councilmember Hudson, and thank you all for joining us. Please stick around. The fellows will be at their project stations. Back in the room, we'd love to talk more with you. If you want to come back for more conversations with us, join us as a member of the Design Forum. You can find any one of our staff members. We're happy to share more. Corporate fellows, congratulations. I hope you leave tonight feeling energized to keep doing this work to build the city we all want to live in. And finally, I have one last and essential thank you, which is to our Associate Director of